One of the most powerful steps is simply recognizing how often you use the word should in your thoughts or conversations. I should take that promotion. I should go to that event. I should be further along by now. Each of these statements carries a sense of obligation, but have you ever stopped to ask where that obligation comes from? Is it something you truly want, or is it something you feel pressured to do? Welcome to Soul Time, a show that explores the world of unlocking your unique potential. My name is Dr. Katja Makowka, and I'm a teacher at school, a former teacher at universities, and a stress and mental coach. And I'm your host. Expectations shape so much of what we do, but how often do we really stop to consider where they are actually coming from? Some expectations come from within, our personal goals, our values, or our dreams. And these are self-imposed and often aligned with who we are. But others are external, placed on us by friends, cultural norms, or even societal pressures. And these external expectations often carry the loudest voice, pushing us toward decisions that might not always feel right for us. Think about how many of your choices have been influenced by these external sources. Social media, with its endless stream of comparisons, sets unrealistic standards for how we should live, how we should look, or even feel. And these influences are everywhere, shaping our decisions in ways we might not even realize. And the result? We fall into the should trap. I should do this. I should want that. I should be further along by now. And these thoughts create a constant pressure, leaving little room for authenticity. And instead of asking, what do I want? We are stuck fulfilling roles or meeting standards that don't truly resonate with us. Take an example you might relate to. Staying in a job you dislike because it's safe. It's such an example. It pays the bills, it's stable, and maybe it's what others expect of you. Or maybe you are staying in a relationship because it looks good on the outside, even though deep down you know it isn't right. These are the moments where the weight of external expectations feels the heaviest, keeping us stuck and out of alignment with our true selves. And understanding where these expectations come from is the first step. When you start to untangle the internal from the external, you can begin to see how much of your life is shaped by what others want and how much more fulfilling it could be if you focused on what you truly desire. Living for others comes with a hidden cost that often builds slowly over time. At first, it might feel like you are doing the right thing, keeping others happy, fulfilling what's expected, and avoiding conflict. But underneath the surface, the emotional weight begins to build pressure. And constantly trying to meet others' expectations can lead to anxiety, to self-doubt, and a creeping sense of burnout. You might start questioning yourself, wondering if you are enough or if you are doing the right thing by everyone else's standards. The truth is, the more you try to meet everyone else's demands, the further you drift from yourself. When you prioritize what other people want over what truly matters to you, it becomes harder to connect with your own desires, your own dreams, and your values. And over time, you can lose sight of who you are. Maybe you find yourself working in a career you didn't choose, pursuing goals that don't excite you, or saying yes to commitments that drain your energy. Each of these decisions, while seemingly small, adds up to a life that feels increasingly disconnected from your own sense of purpose. And then there is the resentment. When you keep saying yes to things you don't align with, it's easy to feel trapped. And that frustration can build until it turns into bitterness, not just toward others, but toward yourself for not standing up for what you truly want. And burnout isn't far behind. Living for others is exhausting because it's a constant balancing act of trying to please everyone, often at the expense of your own well-being and balance. And the hidden cost of living for others isn't just emotional, it's a loss of time and opportunity. Every moment spent chasing someone else's expectations is a moment that could have been spent pursuing your own. And when you look back, the regret of not having lived authentically can feel heavier than the initial fear of breaking free. It's important to recognize this cycle and remind yourself that living for others might feel safe, but in the long run, it comes at the expense of the life you were meant to create and your own mental health. And letting go of expectations is easier said than done. And much of the struggle comes from deeply ingrained fears and beliefs. One of the most powerful barriers is the fear of disappointment. We worry about what others will think, whether we will let them down, face their judgment, or even lose their approval. And this fear can make it feel almost impossible to break away from the roles and paths that others have defined for us. And there's also the need for approval, which can feel almost addictive. When someone praises you for meeting their expectations, it's validating. It makes you feel seen and accepted. And over time, this validation can become something we unconsciously chase, shaping our decisions and behavior. But the danger is that external approval is fleeting. It doesn't build the kind of inner confidence and fulfillment that comes from within, living in alignment with your goals. And then there is the fear of the unknown. Even if the life we are living doesn't feel fully aligned, it often feels safer to follow the path others have laid out. And the predictable feels comforting, while the uncertain feels like a risk. And what if the alternative doesn't work out? What if we fail? These questions keeps us stuck to what feels familiar, even when it's not what we truly want. Societal conditioning plays a huge role in why we struggle to break free. From an early age, we are taught to follow a certain roadmap, do well in school, get a stable career, start a family, and follow the rules for what a successful life should look like. And this blueprint is so ingrained that stepping outside it feels almost rebellious. And not everyone fits into this mold, and trying to force yourself to follow a path that doesn't resonate can leave you feeling stuck and unfulfilled and can lead to stress. And when you peel back the layers, the struggle to let go of expectations often comes down to fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of losing approval, fear of stepping into the unknown. But behind those fears lies an opportunity to reclaim your own voice and make conscious choices that are truly yours. And releasing the weight of expectations starts with awareness. One of the most powerful steps is simply recognizing how often you use the word should in your thoughts or conversations. I should take that promotion. I should go to that event. I should be further along by now. Each of these statements carries a sense of obligation, but have you ever stopped to ask where that obligation comes from? Is it something you truly want, or is it something you feel pressured to do? When you start questioning the shoulds, you can begin to unravel which ones are genuinely yours and which are not. And often these shoulds aren't even your own. When you realizing that the weight you are carrying doesn't belong to you, it becomes easier to let go. And the next step is to define what truly matters to you. What does success mean to you? What does happiness looks like in your life? And when you take the time to reflect on your own values, you create a foundation that is yours and yours alone. It becomes easier to make decisions that feel authentic because you are no longer trying to meet someone else's definition of fulfillment. But even with clarity, living by your own values requires boundaries. Saying no to things that don't align with your vision, with your goals, is a skill that takes practice. It can feel uncomfortable, and especially if you are used to saying yes to keep the peace or to avoid disappointing others. But every time you say no to something that isn't right for you, you are saying yes to yourself. And that's an act of courage, of self-respect and self-love. And finally, perhaps the most important step is giving yourself permission. Permission to choose. Permission to prioritize your balance, your happiness, your fulfillment, and permission to strive for your dreams. This isn't about being selfish. It's about honoring your own life and living in a way that feels true to who you are. And letting go of expectations isn't always easy, but it's one of the most freeing things you can do for yourself. It's not about rejecting everyone else's opinions, but about putting your own voice first and choosing a path that aligns with your heart. And when you begin to live authentically, a weight is lifted. The anxiety that comes from trying to meet others' expectations starts to fade, and in its place, you will find a sense of emotional lightness, of inner peace, of inner alignment and balance. And there's a freedom in knowing that your choices align with what truly matters to you. And you are no longer juggling the impossible task of pleasing everyone. And instead, you are channeling that energy into goals and dreams that resonate with your heart. And this shift doesn't just transform your inner world, it impacts your relationships too. When you show up as your true self, you attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not for who they expect you to be. And the depth and authenticity of these connections create a stronger foundation for healthier and more meaningful relationships. And saying no to what doesn't serve you also means making room for people and experiences that do. And as you embrace your authentic path, something else starts to grow. Your confidence. Each time you make a choice that reflects yourself, you build trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that you can navigate life on your terms, even if it's uncomfortable at first. And confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. You might not always know where the path will lead, but you can walk it with the assurance that every step is your own. Breaking free from the shoulds is an act of reclaiming your life and living with more ease, less stress, more confidence, and more joy. And by shedding the weight of other people's expectations, you allow yourself to step into a version of life that truly aligns with who you are and what you value. It may not be easy, but releasing the pressure of others' expectations takes time and courage, and every small step toward living for yourself is a powerful act of self-respect. So here's my challenge for you. Identify one should you have been carrying, whether it's something you feel you need to do for someone else or an obligation that no longer serves you. And this week, take one small action step towards what you truly want, whether it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your values or doing something for your own joy. It's a step toward freedom. Remember, living authentically isn't about perfection. It's about honoring who you truly are and choosing to make decisions that reflect that. And you deserve a life that feels true to you. So let go of the shoulds and embrace the freedom, the balance, and the joy to choose your own path. And until next time, take care and keep living authentically. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Soul Time. I'm very grateful because you have given me the greatest treasure of your life, your time. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button so that you get a notification every time a new episode is out.